In this last video, we're going to look at using the simple interest formula when the interest is given, but we're missing one of the other variables. So in this first example, it asks us how much principal. So that is our question we were trying to find. So we're looking for our principal must be deposited to earn $1,000 in simple interest in 2 years at a rate of 5%. So when we identify our variables, we know our interest is 1,000. We don't know what our principal is. That's what we want to find. Our rate is 5%. So in decimal form, it's 0.05, and our time is 2 years. So there's two ways we could look at this. We could take our simple interest formula and fill it in, and then we would simply solve for P. So we would do our multiplication of 0.05 times 2, and then we would divide by 0.1, and we would get $10,000. So we would need $10,000 in principal to earn simple interest. Or your other option is you can take your original formula and you can move your variables around so that the P is by itself. So in this case, we would divide both sides by RT, which would give us I divided by RT equals P after we end up canceling out the R's and the T's. Okay, and then all we would have to do at this point is take our numbers from the left side and fill them into our very formula. And you will see that we still ended up with 10,000. So either method will work. It just depends on which one makes the most sense to you. During the rest of these examples, I'm going to be using the first method. So check your understanding. Once again, we are looking for principal. So how much principal, that's our question, how much principal is going to be deposited in a 2-year simple interest account that pays 3.25% interest to earn $300 in interest. So let's fill in our variables again. Our interest we know is 300. Our principal is what we are looking for. Our rate is 3.25, which is 0.0325, because we would have to, before converting 3.25, we know is 3.25%. So then we would move the decimal over 2 spots, and our time would be 2 years. So filling in our formula, we see that 300 equals P times 0.0325 times 2. Solve it like normal, divide both sides, or multiply 0.0325 times 2, divide both sides by 0.065, so we get approximately $4,615.38. So the principal amount that we would need to earn $300 in interest would be $4,615.38. So in this example, Derek has a bank account that pays 4.1% simple interest. The balance is $910. And we want to know when the account will grow to $1,000. So you have to kind of think about this one. Well, this is obviously the rate. The balance, this is our principal amount. So that is what we start with. And we want to know when it will grow to $1,000. So we don't have a time and we don't have interest. Well, the question, when will the account grow? Because we're talking, a time frame here alludes to that we're looking for time. Okay, so we need to ask ourselves, if the balance is 910 and we want it to be 1,000, how do we figure out how much interest is needed to reach 1,000? So you would take what we want our balance to be minus what our balance is, and we would find that we're looking for an interest of $90. The principal we said was 910. Our rate in decimal form is 0.041, and what we're looking for is how much time is it going to take us to get to that $1,000. So we fill in our formula, and this time, instead of the p being our variable, it's t because we're looking for time. And we would solve, and we would end up with 2.4. So our answer would be 2.4 years, or you could calculate it out and say approximately 29 months. Okay, so once again, it says how long. So we're looking for time. Okay, and we start with 10,000, and we have a simple interest of 11%, and we want it to, now this is important, we want it to double. Okay, so now you once again have to think about this. $10,000, that is going to be our principal. 11% our rate. So what we're looking for is the interest. So by double, we want our principal to double. So that means we want to end with $20,000. Okay. So to find our interest, you're going to take the original, or you're going to take the 20,000 we want to end up with, subtract the 10,000. So we're looking at $10,000 in interest. And then we could fill in the rest of our variables. 10,000 is our principal. 11% in decimal form is 0.11. And our time is what we are looking to find. So we are going to plug that into our formula. And then we are going to solve for t. And we end up with 9.09. And that means it's going to take us about 9 years. And our last example sets. Carrie invests $5,000. Okay, so this is our principal. $5,000 into an account for 5 years. What is the interest rate that must the account pay? So there is 6,000 at the end of 5 years. So the question here is, what is the interest rate? So in this example, we're looking for R. 5,000, if he's investing 5,000, that's our principal. 5 years would be our time. And 6,000 is our ending balance. Okay. So that is our ending balance. So what we are going to be asking ourselves in this one is, what's our interest rate? So our interest rate, yes, we're asking our interest rate. So now we have to determine what is our interest. So we would take our end balance minus our old balance. So our interest would be 6,000 minus the 5,000. So we want $1,000 in interest. Our principal is 5,000. We know our time is 5 years. What is our interest rate? That's what we're trying to find out. So we fill in our formulas, and this time we're looking for R. We solve for R, and we end up with 0.04 equals R. So we are looking at, now remember, we want to convert this to a percent, so we need to move our decimal back 2 spots. So we are looking at 4% in simple interest to end up with a balance of $6,000. So Marcos deposited $500. That's our principal. In a 2.5 year, so that's our time, simple interest account. He wants to earn $200 in interest. So in this example, they're giving us the interest amount, not what they want to end with. And we want to know, what is the interest rate? So filling in our variables, as a reminder, they gave us that the amount is 200 in interest, so no calculations needed for interest this time. Interest is 200, principal is 500. We're looking for the rate, and time is 2.5 years. So we fill in our equation, I equals PRT. We're once again looking for R, solve for R, and we get 0.16. So we have a simple interest rate of 16%.